Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening for those of you connected online. And thanks for all of you who are joining us here in person in Riyadh for the early start. We are starting a few minutes ahead at the start of this day 2 of IGF 2024, and welcome to this town hall on the Global Digital Compact. The main idea is to hear from you, from all of you in the room and online, on the expectations for the implementation of the Global Digital Compact. A little bit to hear what would you like to see next. As a word of introduction, I'm Filippo Pierozzi, and I am with the Office of the Tech Envoy of the United Nations. And without further ado, I would like to invite on stage our co-host. First, I would like to introduce Maria Fernanda Garza. She is the chairperson of the International Chamber of Commerce. The International Chamber of Commerce is the biggest trade association in the world. I think over 170 countries represented, 45 million businesses. It is actually a trade association that is older than the United Nations and is actually older than the League of the Nations, that is the predecessor of the United Nations. So with this introduction, Maria Fernanda, please, the floor is yours.
Yep, now? Perfect. Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today and joining on this joint session, partnering with our colleagues at the Office of the UN Secretary General's Envoy on Technology and the Digital Cooperation Organization. And as you say, we are convening this meeting together. I am really glad to have this opportunity to reflect together on the next steps for the Global Digital Compact. ICC, besides everything that Filippo said, is an organization that through a unique mix of advocacy, solutions, and standard settings, we promote international trade, responsible business, and a global approach to regulation. ICC was very actively engaged in the development of the compact, which for us represents an important vision for a more inclusive, trusted, and sustainable digital future, one that reflects the interconnected realities of our world and our shared aspirations for development. The business community has a vital role to play in turning the vision into reality. So I am really happy to share with you all today that ICC will be endorsing the GDC. We do so as we recognize the need for a collaborative approach to its implementation, one that draws on the strengths and the expertise for all stakeholders, including governments, civil society, the academia, and the technical communities, and critically, the private sector. The private sector engagement is not just desirable, it is essential for the successful implementation of the GDC's visions and objectives on the ground. Businesses are the forefront of digital innovation, the providers of digital infrastructure, the developers and deployers of services and applications, and often the first users of these, together the drivers of the global economy. From across these roles, the private sector brings practical experience, technical expertise, and the ability to scale solutions rapidly and act as a multiplier across regions. For the GDC to be effective, businesses must be part of the implementation process from the outset. This includes contributing to the development of implementation plans and mechanisms, providing insights from the ground, and ensuring that implementation is both efficient and aligned with the realities of the global digital economy. The International Chamber of Commerce stands ready to serve as a bridge between the United Nations implementation efforts and businesses around the world. We can channel the voices of companies, large and small, from every region, ensuring their experiences and concerns are heard. We can help translate the GDC principles into actionable practices by working with businesses to align the strategies with the Compact's vision. And we can facilitate partnerships, fostering cross-sectoral collaboration to drive impactful results. And to achieve this, we must build a robust, multi-stakeholder approach to this implementation. It means ensuring that businesses have a seat at the table, not only as implementers, but as co-creators of the frameworks that will guide this important work. So as we move forward, I hope that we can create opportunities to work together to ensure that the GDC is not just a compact on paper, but a catalyst for action. Thank you, Filippo.
Thank you so much, Maria Fernanda, for these remarks, for stressing the role of multi-stakeholder implementation, multi-stakeholder design, and also for your reference to the regional dimension. And on this note, I want to call on stage Hassan Nasser. Hassan is the Chief of Cabinet for the Digital Cooperation Organization. We thought that it would be interesting to hear a regional perspective. For those of you who have interacted with him, you will know that he's literally the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Digital Cooperation Organization, and he will share some insights on what DCO is doing and how they see the Global Digital Compact moving forward.
Thank you, Filippo. Can you hear me? Oh, you have all the headset. Amazing. That's weird. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining so early. When we planned this, we wanted to make sure there is no conflicting agenda, but of course, it required a bit of commitment. So I would like to share three elements this morning. One is, what is DCO, for those who are not familiar with DCO? What have been our role and involvement with the Global Digital Compact, and how do we see the next step? The first thing is DCO today represents 16 member states across Asia, Africa, Middle East, and Europe. It's a total of 800 million people, and 800 million people are creators, users of the digital economy. Our mandate is to accelerate the inclusive and sustainable growth of the digital economy for the member states. But because, as we know, digital economy is not just driven by government, we have developed also this multi-stakeholder approach, and we have an observer committee for private sector, civil society, academia, and international organization. So very early in the process of the Global Digital Compact, when the Office of the Tech Envoy started those multi-stakeholder consultation, of course we have been taking a part, and we have been considering this as a great opportunity to address something which was probably missing before in the development community and the global community. What's the role of digital to support the achievement of the SDGs? If we look back to the SDGs, digital was probably completely absent, maybe one or two reference, and few years later, we are in September this year, and finally we have a Global Digital Compact which recognizes the role, the challenges and the opportunities of the digital transformation for today's world. So for DCO, we wanted to be part of it, joining the multi-stakeholder discussion. Later on, through our member states, being active in the intergovernmental negotiations. And now, once it's approved, we need to look at the action. The way we will act and the way we will support, after, of course, endorsing the Global Digital Compact, is to support the 16 DCO member states to define tangible and actionable solutions to achieve the commitment they made in the compact. We will focus on digital economy, and we will work on startups, investment, regulations to foster the growth of the digital economy in an inclusive and sustainable way. We have started to work on startup ecosystem with 16 member states, how to create more cross-border economy, how to make sure startup entrepreneurs have access to the resource, the information they need. On the AI side, of course, there is also a big challenge. We need to address the AI divide. We need to look at the computing capacity, but also to make sure that the people in the 16 member states we represent are not just consumer of AI, they are also producer. So we have a lot of challenge ahead of us. And to address those challenges, there is one key word, which is the C of our name, cooperation. So we are very pleased to be here this morning with a multi-stakeholder group of, participants. We invite you to contribute, to share your ideas. We are still in the process of defining the next steps, and we want to do this together. So thank you to the Tech Envoy office. Thank you to the ICC to be here as well. And we are very pleased to be here this morning, and we look forward to the fruitful conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Hassan. Thanks, Maria Fernanda. Now, as you wish.
Sorry, I have to leave.
Perfect. Now we are about to move in the conversation part of this town hall, but maybe before that, an update on where we stand with the endorsement, which are the next steps. This is theoretically the third town hall, or the second. We hosted a couple of those earlier in October, but for those of you who were not there, or for those of you who were there and would like to have an update, where is the endorsement coming from? The endorsement is coming from the very text of the Global Digital Compact adopted by world leaders, where they call all stakeholders to endorse the Global Digital Compact. We had some preliminary conversation with private sector, with civil society, and with the technical community. And what we heard from them is that endorsement, yes or no answer was not enough, and we would agree with them. So if you go on www.globaldigitalcompact.un.org, you will find an endorsement form. And the options are to, number one, endorse the Global Digital Compact, as we say, the vision and the principles. For those of you who studied the text, you will know that is paragraph 8 of the Global Digital Compact, and or to specify if you do not wish to endorse, or if you do wish to endorse, but you want to provide more information, to tell us the areas where your organization, your association is active, and to specify which activity you're already undertaking or you plan to undertake in the future. And another question that we heard a lot in bilaterals in the previous town hall is like, why should we do that? The answer is multifaceted answer, but let me flag something else that is in the text of the Global Digital Compact. The Secretary General has been tasked by member states to produce an implementation map of the Global Digital Compact. As you know, the process to get to a Global Digital Compact within the boundaries of an intergovernmental process, of course, was multi-stakeholder. Of course, every multi-stakeholder process has room for improvement, and we want the implementation phase to be multi-stakeholder, as Maria Fernanda said, in the implementation, but even before that, on how we design that implementation map. In other words, by filling in the form and endorsing, you can tell us the areas where your organization see value, areas where you don't see values, and which are the priorities. And all this information will be mirrored. No worries, I don't think that the Secretary General in his report that will be part of a resolution of the General Assembly will single out any association or individual, but it is useful information to inform the implementation map of the Secretary General. Will the information be made public? Yes. The list of endorsers will be made public. When? Ideally around the end of the year. And is there a deadline? No, there is no deadline. It will be on a rolling basis. Again, mindful of the timing of the machinery of the United Nations and of the implementation map of the Secretary General that will be prepared next spring. The sooner you do it, the better, but there will be no hard deadline for endorsement. where do we stand? And then I will open the floor for intervention. Where do we stand with endorsement at the moment? We have around over 300 endorsements with over 100 companies, mostly MSMEs, that have endorsed the compact. And if I may say a word on this, it is a very good number, but given the importance of the Global Digital Compact, given the importance of this process, we would really like to see way more, if not endorsement, at least way more inputs, because the more input we have, the merrier to shape the Global Digital Compact. Now, I think we have a floating mic, and if we don't, I will go around the room. I would like to take at least 2 or 3 interventions from the room. The floor is open. Please raise your hand, and over there, please. And of course, if you can briefly introduce, if not yourself, the association or organization that you are representing.
Yes, thank you, Filippo. We met online in one of the town halls. My name is Wout Natris, and I represent the Dynamic Coalition on Internet Standards, Security and Safety. And despite what I've heard in the past 2 meetings, I'm still wondering what, as a dynamic coalition within the IGF, which is a coalition of volunteers who dedicate time to a specific topic on security, that how can we contribute? Because what is it worth is we endorse the Global Digital Compact, but we could contribute content that would help everyone further to become more secure and safer. So that is a main question of a very little part of this compact that we are still struggling with, and what is the right way forward, and what do you expect from a content point of view that a little organization like ours can contribute to. So that's the question that we keep struggling with. Thank you.
That is very tricky. Apologies. We'll take a couple of other interventions, and then maybe we can address those. Please.
Thank you very much. Henriette Esterhuizen, Association for Progressive Communications. Thank you very much for this session. And I think particularly because we've heard GDC and GDC implementation from the IGF perspective, so it's really good to hear it perspective. Just one question that has occurred to me, and there's probably a very simple answer. In the GDC, you illustrate these links to the SDGs, which is very helpful from a perspective of integration with the SDG. Is there any reason why links with WSIS action lines are not illustrated similarly in this version or the final version of the GDC? And then just to follow up on that, looking at, for example, the objectives around digital literacy in the GDC, which is expressed in a very rounded and contemporary relevant way, because it makes the links to literacy to deal with misinformation. How the GDC plan to reconcile this with governments and other actors that are implementing the WSIS Action Line 4 on capacity building, which covers similar terrain. So, GDC perspective, how do you best see those linkages taking place, and how can the GDC reinforce existing WSIS-related implementation?
Henriette, maybe we'll take last one from, at least for the first round, last one from the room, and then we'll hear if someone online has any intervention.
Thank you, Philippe. My name is Jordan Carter. I work for the Australian Domain Administration.au. There's been a lot of use of the word multi-stakeholder in the implementation path here. One of my kind of core understandings of that is that stakeholders have a seat at the table in designing things in a multi-stakeholder environment. So aside from endorsing and sharing the list of areas that people are working on, what opportunities will there be for input in actually designing the further follow-up processes under the GDC, if any?
Thanks so much. Let me take those to the first, and hopefully you are able to hear me. To the first intervention, I think the best way in which you can, and I know how much IGF and is national chapters, regional chapters, dynamic coalitions, how much have contributed, not just at the moment, but throughout this process, and how important they've been. I think the best way to channel your inputs is through the forum. There is ample space to elaborate on the activities that you're doing, and actually we would encourage you to act as a synthesis of all these actors and technical experts that are active in that field, if it makes sense. To Aria's point on To Aria's point, actually, I see my colleague Isabel that is in disguise in the audience. That maybe she can take that.
Sorry, Filippo, and thanks, Henriette, for your question. It's actually the subject of our next session at 9:45, if you'd like to stay on. Because this session was about endorsement or thinking about the vision and principles, but at 9:45 we'll talk about the actual implementation. And I can say also to the third question on how multi-stakeholders can participate in the design of the implementation, that's absolutely part of the thinking. So what's been happening over the last couple of months, the UN has gone a little bit quiet as we get organized to open up our process and a platform for implementation. What is the UN's role in implementation? We talked about that yesterday in a few sessions. So if you read the GDC carefully, it speaks mostly to member states and to companies and to civil society and scientists to get involved in taking forward its actions. And in a few paragraphs, it speaks to UN system. The UN's role, therefore, in implementation is really to act as a facilitator and a convener, sharing information, providing spaces and platforms for the other actors to come together and collaborate. And we've taken a couple of months, perhaps it's taken maybe a couple of weeks too many to describe the outlines of how the UN system will open up this platform and a process for the stakeholders to flag all of their contributions, for example, from a dynamic coalition or from a think tank, from companies. So I expect that in the month of January, we will have more news about how to invite stakeholders into the design process. At this stage, I think Filippo's answer is the best one, is to start with endorsement, or even beyond endorsement, there's a process in the form to just signal what is your interest as an organization or what actions you envision contributing to. That's one way to stay connected before the implementation mapping really gets going. I think on as relates to action line 4, how will they come together? Perhaps we can take that in the next session, or yes? Okay.
Thanks, Isabel. Always trying to juggle between the headset and the mic. Asking to the tech team in the back of the room if you're ready to hear some interventions from those of you who are connected online. So I would encourage all those who are connected on Zoom to raise your hand, and I would please ask the team to give the floor to those of you connected online. I hear no feedback from the colleagues of the IT team. If I can please ask you again to see if there is any intervention from those of you connected online. There are no interventions. Fantastic. So we go back to the room, and I would encourage those of you who have not taken the floor yet to raise your hand and to take the floor. Over here, I don't know where is the state of our mic. Otherwise, I'd be happy to volunteer mine.
Yes. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Filippo. My name is Mark Carvel. I've been leading for Europe regional European Regional IGF on engagement in the GDC process. We've consulted and promoted awareness of the GDC, and we've submitted inputs into the consultations and so on. And we will continue to be engaged. And I wondered if you have some specific thoughts about how regional IGFs and indeed national IGFs like us can play an active role, not only in advocacy of endorsement, but in some way the mechanics of follow-up from endorsement. Eurodig will meet in May next year, so that timing may be useful in terms of concrete engagement through our regional forum to stakeholders. Can you say anything more specific to guide us on how we should contribute in practical terms? Thank you.
I definitely can, but maybe let's see if there is someone else. I see Mona from Internet Society Organization, and then the gentleman in the back of the room. Mona, please.
Thanks, Filippo. I know that you had a series of consultations and deep dive discussions that included a variety of stakeholders. I was wondering, moving forward, if you plan to meet specifically with each stakeholder. For instance, you're hearing a lot from private sector, but will you be having individual consultations, for instance, with the technical community, civil society, give folks an opportunity to flag their priorities to have more of a seamless implementation? Just want to know if there's any communication or any plans in the works to have that happen. Thanks.
Now I think there is another intervention in the back of the room. No worries.
Philippe. My name is Jimson Lufuye. I'm the chair of the Advisory Council of the Africa ICT Alliance. We are happy with the GDC because we followed it up, especially with UNECA, United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. They consulted with us, the private sector, and we engaged throughout the process. What I just see we need to look at is the implementation down to different countries. If you look at those 5 objectives, are they achievable? Would they be achieved? They are lofty goals. We want them achieved. What I want to emphasize is the need for some kind of measurement. We need to have some form of metric. Think about that. I think at a point, the ITU plenipotentiary decided that there has to be a measurement of cybersecurity maturity for all nations, and they came out with the global cybersecurity index, and that helps countries to see where they are. So we need to have something like that so that we can measure progress down the line. Maybe some form of performance audit too could help in that measurement framework. I just want to put that on the table. So it's well endorsed. Thank you.
I think Hassan wants a word.
Yes, that's very disturbing. We have a when we decide to co-convene this discussion, we wanted to also look at what do we need to do together. And I understand we have a lot of questions, and Filippo will address all the questions, I'm sure. But there is one thing we need to realize: this compact is very new, and it's very ambitious. And I don't think anyone has all the answer. The answer we will get will be through this dialogue that we want to create, because those commitments, those objectives are beyond what we are used to do. So we need to really look also at the new opportunities ahead of us. So again, from a DCO perspective, what we really want is to foster new discussion, new dialogue. Could be at a country level between public and private sector, could be cross-regional, just to address the issues that are captured in the compact, with the ambition captured in the compact as well, with a consensus achieved at the General Assembly during the Summit of the Future, which was quite impressive as well. And congrats to the office and all the secretariat working on this. But now there are a lot of things where we don't have the answer yet. And this kind of discussion, I hope, will help us to create new connections, new partnerships, new dialogue that we will bring to address those solutions. From DCO, what we said to the Tech Envoy in September is we really want, for instance, to use and leverage some of the tools we have created for the DCO member state, like the Digital Economy Navigator, to help the partners involved in the compact or the achievement of the compact and the roadmap to identify and to measure what are the objectives and what are the results they are bringing on the table. So all these things are new discussion, and we really want to focus on that. And I wanted just to give a bit of time to Filippo to prepare the response, actually. I'm just helping.
Thank you. I wish I had answers for all your observations, but maybe let me do one step back and refer to what my colleague Isabel was saying. You need to be patient to hear on the latest when it comes to implementation coming from the UN side, but something that is clear from day zero, from even before the adoption of the Global Digital Compact, is that the implementation will be, yes, coordinated. Of course, the Global Digital Compact is not a standalone initiative. It's part of the broader Pact for the Future. So it's going to be coordinated, but it's going to be distributed. Distributed means that relying to what, and we heard some examples, so what the UN is doing already, what governments are doing already, and what all your organizations or associations are doing already. We are indeed in a very fortunate, if not tight deadline, because again, the next IGF will reconvene in Oslo in 6 months from now. And of course, also to link to what Hassan was saying, is that the regional perspective and the national perspective will be very important. We don't want, as the UN, we don't want to give you a template of being like, this is the way you should do engagement, because we relying on stakeholders, it means also relying on the ingenuity of stakeholders in finding ways to give us solutions that we are not able to think at the moment. But something that will be very important, and maybe something I can share, is that the implementation will be done at the national level. So it will be very important for all of you to liaise with your national governments, with the elected representatives there, to the regional offices and to the resident coordinators offices of the United Nations in your respective countries, so to have that level, because it's at that level that the Global Digital Compact will be implemented. We are talking, as again our speakers nicely put it in the introduction, we are not just talking of another declaration of principles, we need to implement it. And there is no implementation that can be done centrally from any specific office or structure in New York or elsewhere. To implement the objective of the Global Digital Compact, we need the local level, and a great way for IGF, its coalition, is to do this outreach with the UN, in Geneva, in New York, of course, but also, and maybe first with national governments at the local level. Are we convening something for specific stakeholders groups? That is an idea. That is an idea we would be happy to support if there is appetite to do so. Usually what happened, and I can share something that happened already couple of weeks ago, there was a roundtable in New York convened by the private sector, for the private sector, with the engagement of the United Nations. We would be happy to not only to be part of it, but to bring all the relevant UN actors to the table, should you decide to do the same for the technical community, for civil society, for both, for a specific subset of actors. That would be very relevant. But again, nobody wants another centralized process, so we will really leave this roundtable and this engagement, hopefully, to the multi-stakeholder dimension. If we have a specific request to do so, we will be very happy to assist in organizing or to featuring in those. To the last intervention on the metrics and quantifiable objectives, there was a long struggle in the intergovernmental process, and that is something that unfortunately got lost in negotiation. Meaning the text, as the co-facilitators put it at the very beginning of the Global Digital Compact process, had some ideas around having indicators to track what we are talking about and how we're implementing those, similarly to what happened already in the areas such as connectivity. Unfortunately, this idea didn't fly, or at least it didn't make it to the final text. But again, I guess you need to hear the music from the few notes the member state left in the text, and hopefully in the next phase there will be room, and again a call for all stakeholders to give us ideas on how we can develop metrics and how we can monitor those, and this is linked to the very important fact of accountability in the compact, because again, yes, we will need metrics, we will need indicators that they keep us as the UN member states accountable to their commitments, and hopefully also stakeholders accountable to the commitments and pledges that they will want to undertake. So again, any ideas is more than welcome on that. Going back to see if there's anyone online. I see a gentleman in the room. We'll take that and then maybe go online if you guys, you folks are still connected. Please.
Okay, good morning to all, and good day from everywhere. My name is Peter Keane. I represent the Liberia Internet Governance Forum. I would like to throw highlight on 3 key items I think this global digital compact should be focused on. I think the issues of sustainability is key, that looking at the idea of digital infrastructure that will support economic growth and environmental resilience. And I think also the issue of governance, that is building policies that uphold the human right and protect users from harm while driving innovation. And the last one I think to share is the governance, the issue of inclusion is very, very key, as we see a document that look at globally, enhancing the idea of digital, processes. But then I also see that this is a key foundation for transformation, change that places Africa at the global world at a point where everyone can be included, and make sure that things can work for everybody, no matter where you are in Africa. This is just my input and intervention, please.
Thank you so much. Maybe we can check if there is there anyone online?
Please. Thank you.
Yes, please. I cannot see. Sorry, in the room we cannot see your name or video on screen. So, if
okay, I would say who my name is. I cannot open the video is refusing to open. I think the person who's managing it might have to help us.
No worries. In the meantime, we can hear you all right. So, sorry, ma'am. Please, if you can introduce yourself, and the floor is yours.
Yes, I'm Advocate Nsaluba from South Africa, part of the IGF South Africa. My question relates to the partly you've responded, but I wanted to, my question actually is online, but if you could share with us, in the light of, thank you very much. I think now you'll be able to see me because it's important. Can you hear me?
We can hear you and see you.
Okay. Now, my question then relates to the interface between the multilateral and the continental response. And so my focus is on the instrument that you might be able to share with us if it is there, what we regard to as the monitoring and evaluation management plan and time frame. Not only that, but how does it embrace the existing reporting initiatives? For example, in Africa, we have the Africa We Want, that agenda, which is already having its KPIs and everything. And at UN, we have the SDGs, which have their own process. How is this? If you can share with us any timeline and the management plan, because this is important that it gets infused into the existing structures so that it manifests in the state's planning instruments over over the period for easy tracking? So that's my question. Then the management plan that relates to monitoring and evaluation. And secondly, with timelines and how it embraces the existing country reporting initiatives that are informed by continental initiatives, one of which being the IGF that we are in now. Thank you.
Much, and that is a fantastic Istanbul backdrop. If there is any other intervention line, we'll take another one. I understand then there is none, so maybe let me quickly acknowledge the colleague from Liberia from his intervention, and you rightly pointed out one of the key areas that was introduced. I mean, it was not really introduced by the Global Digital Compact, but it's the first time the world leaders acknowledge this area in a GA resolution, that is digital public infrastructure and its relevance, especially for the global majority. And the UN, together with colleagues at UNDP and UNICEF, we're working on project on digital public infrastructure. There is a multi-stakeholder group, and we know how much the African examples from several countries can contribute to the discussion at the global level. And also your emphasis on environmental and sustainability at large is pretty much there, and maybe this is one of those areas where, and I'm connecting to what the South African colleague was saying, where maybe some KPIs that we have still room to get to these indicators that we were talking about before. Timeline, KPIs, and how we integrate the regional dimension to the multilateral dimension, that is a very relevant and tricky issue. When it comes first, let me share what's the timeline, what is the objective and the target that world leaders gave us. The high-level review will be in 2027 at the 82nd session of the General Assembly. So we're working on a 2.5 years timeline for the high-level review of the Global Digital Compact. That is before the Agenda 2030 of the Sustainable Development Goals. These two agendas are interrelated, and these also might answer part of Henriette's point that mentioned WSIS, why it's not there. Again, I don't want to second guess member states, but what negotiator felt in New York, it was felt the urgency to link two main agendas to the Global Digital Compact. The first one is the Sustainable Development Goals. The second one is the pillar of the United Nations related to human rights. So we are aware and of different regional strategies, and hopefully through, as I mentioned, through the national dimension and through the regional dimension, they can flow into the Global Digital Compact. A way of doing so would be to align, when we will be defining metrics, to align the metrics of regional strategies that are, I know the Africa strategy, I think the goal is 2063. So further down the road, at the European level, usually the planning is quadrennial, or for 5 years' time. We have a new commission coming in. So ideally, we might want to work with these partners and align the strategies. Of course, understanding that the timeline for the high-level review of the GDC is not 2030, is not 2063, but is 2027. We still have a few minutes for other interventions in the room. I see 3 interventions, please.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Excellent. Jana Hirvonen from the Finnish FA. Sorry for the voice. It's a bit chilly in the evening, so I may have got a flu or something. Excellent discussion, an important topic. Many thanks already at this stage. I don't want to sound too pessimistic, but as the Secretary General of ITU yesterday reminded us that only 17% of the goals on sustainable development are progressing in line with the plans. I think it's important that we ensure that the GDC does not fall into the same challenges and problems that the Sustainable Development Goals have, are facing at the moment. And, it would be For the record, it was 17% that the ITU Secretary General mentioned. I would like to maybe hear your views that how do you address this challenge, and how do you ensure that all the stakeholders, even the nations that might not have been willing to endorse the outcome of the negotiations, are on board and really committed to achieve the targets and the objectives of the GDC. Many thanks.
Thank you. We'll take the next interventions, and trust me, we all share the pain of simultaneous translation, not getting non-native speakers right.
Hello. Hello, I'm Justin Thomas from SYNC, Digital Wellbeing Program based in Saudi Arabia. And this, I'm conscious of you can hear me okay? There is an inherent tension for me in the GDC, in that there is this idea of connecting the unconnected, ensuring equitable access to technology, and especially for populations that are currently underserved, kind of out of the loop. But I think at the same time, there's also challenges that come with connectivity, and I think this is it's touched on in terms of digital literacy. But I think there's an inherent kind of, if you connect people first, or do you kind of prevent them, or kind of provide some kind of prophylaxis from them suffering the harms that other nations that have connected to digital technologies have experienced: social polarization, behavioral addiction, other issues like that. Idea of kind of the tension. There's obvious benefits, but also the mitigating the risks, and kind of how we do that simultaneously. So I don't know if that's it's not really a question, but a reflection, and something that I think is very important, because there'll be stakeholders who are very much kind of cheerleaders for connectivity and ensuring everybody's connected, but there certainly needs to be a joined up kind of conversation with people who are more advocates for safe, healthy, kind of problem-free technology use. So I hope that's clear.
It is indeed. I think there was another intervention in the back of the room. Julia, please, if we can pass on the mic to the colleague.
I'm Yulia Shlichkova, representing Kaspersky Global Cybersecurity firm. Can you hear me well? Okay. We contributed throughout the process, and we also signed the pledge endorsing Global Digital Compact initiatives. We really comment on involvement of multi-stakeholder community, and we believe that it's really important to involve academia, private sectors, especially discussing technology matters, as technology is evolving a lot, and there really needs to be input from real fields. And from where we stand, we believe that for tangible results, even if we have shared goals, to achieve tangible results, focus is the key. And we comment on the initiative to establish a scientific panel on AI and global dialogue on AI, because when there is focus, it's much easier to unite activities. And this is, I think, the key contribution, the key for my comment here. And those who are interested in AI, tomorrow we will be facilitating session on balancing risks and benefits of AI at 11:15. So welcome everyone. And again, thank you for all your work at GDC. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks to the plug to the session tomorrow that hopefully colleagues will be able to. I think we have another couple of interventions. Please, sir, you have the floor. Then we'll go to the third row.
Guess you can hear me?
We can.
Okay, I'm Dr. Anand. I'm from the United Service Institution of India. Just a small cautionary sort of sense from my side. when we work out the various conditions and compliances, we need to keep in mind that innovation is not stifled. So when we come out with guidelines, when we work out certain compliance details, let's make it more kind of guideline oriented rather than compliance oriented, so that we are able to make sure that innovation is kept up, especially when it comes to the developing countries.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Before we get another intervention, maybe if Hassan wants to address some of the observation and maybe say if I understand he has to leave in a minute.
Yeah, that's why. But first, I wanted to thank the Office of the Tech Envoy for having us. I think, like all this conversation, we start slowly. Yeah, it starts slowly, and then now we cannot stop. But I have to leave. But I wanted to say, what I heard is a lot of very interesting comment on the how. Again, we are just taking the temperature of what happened with the adoption. And remember, the GDC is part of the Pact of the Future. We don't need to think about how we realign with SDG, and everything is part of the same story. There was a kind of wake-up call. The Pact of the Future was to tell us, guys, this is not working the way we want. And on top of it, there is a digital component. And at DCO, we were really pleased to see that, because this is our mission and this is our mandate. So hopefully, during the next few days, we continue this conversation. Reach to us. We have a booth there. I see we do some advertising. We have a lot of events. But first of all, I wanted really to thank the Office of the Tech Envoy and ICC, who has to go, for this great conversation. We should have another hour, but I have to leave. So thank you again.
So much, Hassan, and thanks to all of you. I think we have the room for another hour or so we can just keep going. We can keep here, but I understand there is another intervention from the floor, so maybe we can take that one, and I can provide the mic.
Thank you so much. And my name is Jutta Kroll from the German Digital Opportunities Foundation. I'm a child rights advocate, and I really enjoyed hearing that the GDC is part of the Pact for the Future, because children are our future. And although I understand that we need to balance risks and the opportunities, I don't think that what we've seen with the Australian legislation that is keeping children away up to the age of 16 from digital media. They have the right to access to the media, the access information, and to freedom of speech. So it is very important that as children are the future, we ensure that the Global Digital Compact also addresses children's rights, which is already the case, and we have to take that in consideration when we go to implementation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Maybe a quick. I see there is another intervention, so I'll be very quick. To the Finnish colleague, I think that the Ambassador Eriksson will be with us very short on stage, so maybe we can hear part of that reflection. And definitely, we want the Global Digital Compact, and part of this exercise in design is to making sure that the Global Digital Compact contributes to that 83% that is unfulfilled, and at the same time it doesn't fall in the same, again, pitfalls and shortcomings. We need to set indicators, and we need to be realistic on how we set indicators, but at the same time it's something that we cannot keep postponing. The last intervention, I think it rhymes very well to the point about connectivity. There are some trade-offs in all this conversation, but maybe a word on child rights and child protection. This is one, if not my favorite example, of how multi-stakeholders can influence intergovernmental processes. Maybe sometime in the machinery is not so clear to visualize the input and the output, but in in children rights it was very clear. The co-facilitator started this negotiation with a text that had one reference to child rights. The final text, I think, yes, 12 or 13. So, because really there was a big push from the multi-stakeholder community, and there was a big outreach at the national level with the missions in New York, in Geneva, to socialize them to this idea that there was a priority. So that is a great example. There will be some trade-offs to be struck as we're thinking at how we implement it. Because again, digital technologies, they can be an enabler for children, but of course it is almost proven fact that there are some harms that comes from digital platforms. I think there is another intervention, sir.
This is working? Okay. I just want to reaffirm what previous speakers said. We're talking about digital cooperation. I want to focus in cooperation because this all GDC is not an end in itself. It's for development oriented. And as the gentleman said, this inserts itself in a system of development oriented activities that go on in United Nations. And I want to just underline one that is very critical for developing countries, that is the topic of financing and how these have to align with the Addis Ababa commitments, and how to finally the ODA commitments of developed countries for financing that are not being fulfilled. It's very important in order to have enough resources for the projects that developing countries should or need to implement. So and as it said, that if we want the development goals to be fulfilled, that only 17 are in track, I think that financing for development is one of the most important things, and this should be integrated into the GDC. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Maybe one last check to see if there is anyone online. Otherwise, our cognizant that we are already over time, we'll wrap up. But I would encourage every one of you who bear with us. Yes, we have one online, so please.
Thank you very much. Just to concur with you that the GDC actually is not a new thing. It's just an appreciation of the gaps that have emerged as part of the implementation of all the strategic trajectories. I want to underscore that. And moving from there, then I want to ask this. Us having done the evaluation and having identified the gap, have we done an appreciation, speaking the military language, of the resource requirements? And I'm going to talk on behalf of the unconnected. And the unconnected is not a function only of developing countries. Unconnected is the future right around. Have we considered the essential resource requirements to make sure that the unconnected are able to participate, given the short time frames, which are understandable? Because if we're saying 2027, we must be reporting, the assumption then is that we have put all ducks in a row to ensure that the people that must actually say, yes, we now can feel the existence of the compact at the lowest level in the communities. Have we considered that? Not only funding, all the other resource requirements that are there, the boosted fit approach of any initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your observation, and we might want to wrap it up and to bridge it to the next session that will begin in this very room, moderated and chaired by my colleague Isabel. So maybe I would like once again to thank you all for all your contributions. Again, please do endorse the compact, or at least do contribute, share ideas, what your organization or association is already doing, where you would like to see this implementation. Hopefully, we will see each other at IGF 2025 in 6 months, and the Secretary General by then would have consolidated or will be about to consolidate all the inputs in the implementation map, and we'll take it from there. So these 6 months ahead of us will be critical to shape the future of how the Global Digital Compact will be implemented. Of course, aware of all the other processes that are running in parallel. Financing for Development is one of those. There will be a big conference in Spain next year. Another one that has been mentioned already is the 20 annual review of this WSIS process. And with this, thank you all again. Thank for those of you connected online, and I will hand it over to Isabel.